Ricky Flex, it's here. Venom, The Last Dance trailer. And to be frank, Ricky Flex, I have questions. And I really don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say this was the most confusing trailer I've seen in my life. And when you remove all the other outside multiverse Marvel stuff that we think is happening or could be happening in this trailer, I think what's happening just in the world of Venom is confusing in and of itself. But here we have potential retcon of the post-credit scene in Spider-Man No Way Home. We potentially have villains from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man joining Venom's Sony universe. We potentially have a 10-year-old Peter Parker that may have made an appearance in this trailer, along with a different version of Aunt May we've never seen. Maybe even Peter Parker's sister that's showing up. There's so much shit happening in this trailer, Ricky Flicks. I was left with nothing but a muddled brain afterwards. What were your reactions to this trailer?
I will just say, to start out, better than expected.
Really?
Well, this movie is in such a weird spot. Like, where are our expectations for this movie? Bottom of the barrel. Pretty much, right? So what were we gonna expect out of this? I think after seeing the first movie, going into the first movie, we're like, oh, post Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, we're gonna get these Sonyverse movies. They're gonna be Spider-Man movies, but no Spider-Man, right? And they start off with Venom, another with Tom Hardy, which we mentioned on the Mad Max Fury Road pod. He was in his prime when he got cast as Venom. So we had the highest expectations going into that movie, and then we get Venom. We get Venom 2, the debacle that they both were. And then we get the Sonyverse movies that have happened and have not happened. I'm looking at UL Marto, Bad Bunny. So it's like, where were our expectations for this trailer? I think they beat those expectations.
Okay, so that's a good thing to bring up. What are the expectations for this movie? And I think after Let There Be Carnage and we went all in on lunacy, I think we just want to be entertained with some great action sequences, some great CGI, and we want to see some great banter between Venom and Eddie Brock. That's what you're looking for in this movie. But what I noticed is this movie is kind of like Marvel fans' worst nightmare, or I should say more specifically, this is the MCU fans' worst nightmare, where you have a scene at the end of No Way Home where the symbiote left by Eddie Brock after Eddie Brock supposedly returns to the Sony universe is left at that bar in the Caribbean. And we think that that symbiote will lead potentially to Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 or maybe a future Spider-Man movie, and he takes on the black symbiote in the black suit. And the shock that I saw when Chiwetel Ejiofor comes in 20 seconds into the trailer and captures that very symbiote that left so much hope in the MCU, man, I was distraught. But then I was thinking, wait a second. Chiwetel Ejiofor, he's supposedly taking this symbiote from the 616 universe, the MCU. But Chiwetel Ejiofor already plays Baron Mordo in the MCU. So this is where the questions start, Ricky Flex, and we'll start here. Are we retconning the post-credit scene for one of the most lucrative theatrical releases of all time for the Sony universe, for Venom 3 to cap off this trilogy? That's one point of thought. But in another point of thought, you could say that this piece of symbiote is just left over in the universe of Sony, of Venom, and that it's not taking place in the 616, and Baron Mordo really is not Chiwetel Ejiofor here, right? It's just Chiwetel Ejiofor as a different character in the Sony universe, picking up the symbiote. And after that, I don't know what happens with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But it just left me with a bunch of questions. Do you see where my mind's at?
I see where your mind's at. It's definitely what you just said, the latter, where it's just, I'm not even going to try to say his name. Okafor.
Jaleel? Emeka?
The person you were just talking about. Mordo in Mordo in Doctor Strange. This is not the same guy. Not the same guy. Different universes. I see your eyes wide. They're not the same. They are not. And the symbiote, I think it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. This movie is not gonna care about is No Way Home retcon. What's gonna matter at all, like if anything at all matters, is gonna be the beginning where it's like, he's in Eddie Brock / Venom are in this tropical island as they try to get away, but they don't really get away because this gang kind of finds them, and then he's back on the map. That's the only thing that kind of has to happen for it to connect to No Way Home, and then the movie's gonna start.
Ricky Flex, the only thing I care about, because honestly, I don't care if Chiwetel Ejiofor is taking the symbiote and using it in Venom 3. I don't care. What I do care about is if the symbiote can still be used in the MCU. That's the only question I want to be answered here. And I think we have to wait till this releases in theaters to truly find out. And why I think this is potentially just a different universe where this symbiote was dropped in the bar is because the bartender, who is like the really good soccer player, football player in Ted Lasso, right? The bartender at the end of No Way Home. Rojas. Danny Rojas. So at the end of No Way Home, he's the bartender, but in this trailer, he's drunk at the bar, which looks like the same bar, which tells me this is a different universe. And that there is just a different scenario where the symbiote was left and you still have Tom Hardy vacationing in the Caribbean as Eddie Brock. So that's where I think we can sort things out there. But Ricky Flicks, don't you want to know if that symbiote gets to Tom Holland? This was our entry point. It seems like such a juicy direction for Tom Holland following the No Way Home story. Him on his own, potentially, he has a loss of identity, and then finds this like black symbiote. I don't know. I think that would have been a juicy thing. I just, fingers crossed, that's still happening.
It's not going to happen in the next movie. I feel like he has to have friends and kind of change his personality with the symbiote for it to work, for that, like, to have a character development type of story and like a kind of arc. If he's just by himself and he has the symbiote, like, I don't think that story works. So it wasn't going to happen in the next movie anyways. And then after that, Marvel, the MCU, could figure out a way to them to reincorporate the symbiote. It doesn't have to be this specific one. This specific one is not even supposed to be in the MCU. So I really don't think it matters. I know it's not good for like the audience here to say, but I really don't think it matters. And that No Way Home post-credit scene still, if we drafted the worst post-credit scenes or like most hopeful post-credit scenes, that would be on there.
Yes. And dude, and I'm thinking about it, like the post-credit scene of Venom Let There Be Carnage just doesn't matter at all. Like for like the Venom universe.
Why? Wait. Isn't that the one with Stephen Graham?
What?
Isn't that the one with Stephen Graham?
No. The post-credit with Venom Let There Be Carnage when Tom Hardy is transported right in his hotel room and he's staring at the screen that has Tom Holland's Spider-Man on it.
I thought that was No Way Home. God,
No Way Home is the one where he's at the bar with Danny Rojas.
Right. No, I thought I don't know why. I thought that was one big one.
It just felt like that one feels useless unless Tom Holland ends up getting the symbiote, or else it's all for nothing. Ricky Flex. Also, sense of confusion here. Chiwetel Ejiofor, Baron Mordo. I'm potentially thinking this is either the most confusing trailer, or it's so confusing because it's a multiverse story, or it's just Sony being Sony, which I'm starting to think it's that one. Ricky Flex. I think it's just Sony being Sony, and I'm not going to give them enough credit for them to really make this a multiverse story, judging by this trailer. And dude, Rhys Ifans shows up in this, and he famously plays Kurt Connors in Andrew Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man. Is he playing Kurt Connors here? Is it also like hinting at a multiverse story, or is it just some fuckery with the casting here from Sony's universe?
I needed to watch the trailer again because I meant to watch it again to see if he has an arm.
I think he has both in this one.
That doesn't help. Well, if he's not Kurt Connors in this, then whatever. That's another like coincidence or wink wink, like as in he's not Kurt Connors, but you knew he was Kurt Connors 10 years ago in a different universe, similar to like Mordo. I can't say the name. You say the name.
Ejiofor.
Oh, he's Mordo in the MCU, but he's not here. It's another like wink wink. That's just another one. Or if they say he's Kurt Connors, Andrew Garfield. Like that will be the talk after this movie will be Andrew Garfield. That will be the talk and saying, "Oh, Sony versus Andrew Garfield." I'm not saying it will happen. It will not. But people will be talking about that if Kurt Connors is if Risa Fiennes is Kurt Connors in this.
And what's so hilarious here is that it's been rumored that there's going to be a 10-year-old Peter Parker in this, and we may have seen him in this trailer, Ricky, with what looks like Aunt May potentially, and this person who's never been portrayed on screen, someone that is kind of like not a very strong Marvel comic character, Teresa Parker, which is the long lost sister of Peter Parker, who was separated right from Peter when he was adopted by Uncle Ben and Aunt May. So it's like you have Andrew Garfield villain showing up here potentially, but you might have Peter Parker in this movie shown in the trailer. Like, do you see what
but hear me out. This I could see them trying to do similar to like I don't know. Actually, I'm not even gonna say that. But it's like, oh, this is the Andrew Garfield Peter Parker, like 10 years prior. Risa Fiennes, Kurt Connors, this is him 10 years prior. He still has an arm. And that's why, like Andrew Garfield, Tom Hardy, age discrepancy could not match up. Oh, so this kind of explains it, why they couldn't be together, yada, yada, yada. Oh, 10 years from now, that's the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, but what makes this confusing, Madam Web is not in this universe, right? It's like Madam Web was its own separate entity.
Well, that's the 90s, and that has Uncle Ben.
No, wait, no, that's 2003 because Toxic Britney Spears. So, like, but I'm pretty sure they said, like, Madam Web is not even a part of the Sony universe. That was just, like, a Spider-Man movie that was made, and it's multiversal, so it doesn't matter in their eyes. So I think this could line up with, like, young Andrew Garfield. Kurt Connors still has arms, you know? I'm starting to like that theory. I haven't seen that online, Ricky Flex. We'll stick with that one.
Start. Yeah.
But, like having, like, a different Aunt May show up that we haven't seen before. Usually Aunt May is like a pretty like iconic character, like in terms of like it's almost like a Pa Kent. Usually a notable actor plays Pa Kent. Usually a notable actor plays like a Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben.
You know, and we didn't see Uncle Ben in this trailer. Who plays Uncle Ben in Madam Web? Adam Scott. So probably that's in a different universe. But this is what layers on layers of confusion. The lunacy that the title gave off definitely trickled over into the trailer. I will say this movie does look fun. This movie does look fun as shit. And I wish that symbiote scene with the horse saved the trailer because it was close. It was close. That was my takeaway before I started to overthink this way more than I should have. But that horse with the symbiote, it feels like we have leveled up in terms of noticing these are blockbuster, like entertaining, turn your mind off movies. And instead of having the Michelle Williams' Venom in a really like put offish type of scene, let's give it to a freaking horse and let's have fun with this. Let's have a dance sequence. We know it was such a big hit in Venom Let There Be Carnage with him at the rave with like the glow up sticks around his neck. Let's make him dance with Mrs. Chen in Vegas. Like, hell yeah. That's the type of stuff where I'm like, this is where we're at. This is the last dance. Let the good times roll.
Absolutely hated that. But I love how you started off like with this theory, whatever, for this terrible trilogy, if we're being honest. The story of this trailer, though, is the horse symbiote. We should be headlining that. This is what we should have been talking about because that is unbelievable. And it actually was great. And this trailer was kind of all over the place. The beginning was like, oh, you kind of have that John Wick moment or Jack Reacher. It's like, oh, I give you a warning. Then he bites off the heads. It's like kind of like, oh, the childish jokes are starting to come back. We got a Major Tom remix trying to make this feel epic, but it's not. And we got Venom dancing in Vegas with the Mrs. Chen convenience store lady.
I love that.
And then we get the horror turn with the music, and then we get the horse Venom scene or horse symbiote scene. So this trailer was all over the place. It wasn't a good trailer. But it was good because it also is telling us, like, yeah, you know this movie. This movie is going to be all over the place. It's going to be wacky. It's going to have some good action sequences. It's going to be funny, kind of like a buddy comedy between Eddie Brock and Venom. But it's going to be fun and have its cool action moments.
Yeah, before I get into some of the like the juicier, like the turn your brain off type of moments, because I still want to talk about that a little bit. It was just, to me, like, you have so much like comic book fan confusion from this. But also, I don't know what the hell is happening in the actual movie. It's like Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock is on the run from this militaristic type of underground group led by Chiwetel Ejiofor and Juno Temple. But then there is
That's so again.
then you have the alien symbiotes coming down, and you have Venom saying, "Oh, like home has come to us." And then all of a sudden, you have a different angle here, and I can't decipher like where I am, what's happening. But there's a really cool helicopter scene with them hanging from it. I'm like, this looks like a great war movie. All of a sudden, but this is what I'm talking about: confusion, comic book wise, confusion, story wise. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see and like enter the theater, and then I think I still won't be able to decipher what's happening because this is a Sony Universe movie.
Yeah, you just right there. This is a Sony Universe movie. That's why there's confusion on the comic book side, confusion with the tone, confusion with the story, confusion all over the place. That is what the Sonyverse has done in that's the only consistent thing they've done in all their movies.
This is a Marvel MCU fan worst nightmare. The Sony Universe. It is everything that is anti-Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you wonder why there's been no collaboration, right? Why they wiped off potential Venom at the end of No Way Home. It's because of this shit. It's because they can't be trusted. They don't know how to properly run a superhero studio, but they're going to have a lot of damn fun, and audiences are going to have fun, and us talking about is probably what they want. And they're just used to the confusion. Ricky Flex, a couple more things. Rated R. Is this going to be rated R? Like, we didn't get the Let There Be Carnage rated R with Cletus Cassidy, with Woody Harrelson. Here, I didn't get the sense this is rated R. We got Venom chomping off people's heads like we saw in the first two films, but that led to only a PG-13 rating here. No swears in the trailer, really, if I can recall. I think this will be a PG-13 again. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger with the R rating. What's the point if you don't have Carnage?
Correct. And what's the point if like the worst thing that you're going to do is biting heads off?
Yeah.
And you can't really see it anyways because they like flip it.
Also, Stephen Graham's in this. I don't remember what happened with Stephen Graham at the end.
He turns into, I forget what symbiote, but like the blue symbiote.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's like the third angle of the movie. You got Chiwetel Ejiofor and Juno Temple going after Eddie Brock and Venom. You got the aliens from above going to attack Venom, and then you have the Stephen Graham thing where I'm like, this is good. This is way too much. I already know. I haven't seen the movie yet, and I know it's entirely too much. Okay, thermometer predictor. Ricky Flex. This is for any new listeners. This is where we predict the Rotten Tomatoes scores for an upcoming film. This movie releases October 25th, so we're going to have to bookmark this for a couple months. What do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score will be critic-wise?
So the first one, can you guess the Rotten Tomatoes score for the first one, Dr. O?
28 and 30.
It was 30%.
Boom.
Can you guess what the second one was?
57.
You looked this up.
No.
It was 57.
But I know. I told you I'm great at guessing Rotten Tomatoes scores.
Fine. What's the third one gonna be?
Not guessing, but I've seen them before. It's like I'm like Rain Man when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes scores. Like I've seen them one time, I will remember them forever. Do you see how I said 28 and 30, and then I was like 57? Oh, because I knew that was on the border of being fresh and not, and I was totally shocked because I thought that movie was dog crap. But I digress. Sorry, keep going.
Okay, I'm gonna go in the middle, 44.
I like that. I'm at a 36 for this one. I'm at a 36. I know Rotten Tomato scores. Maybe I'm not that great at guessing them. We shall see. We got a couple months ahead.
But like I do think like the first one, again, our expectations were up here. Severely missed those expectations. Again, like you had a Riz Ahmed like coming off of The Night Of. Great performance in that. He was like it was crazy. And it was just like, oh, you have Michelle Williams in this. Like, it's crazy. And then it was so bad. It might not be, like, I might have to rewatch these because I think that might be better than Let There Be Carnage, even though there's such a discrepancy of Rotten Tomato scores. But then our expectations came down for Let There Be Carnage, and then that's 57%. So now we're, like, kind of in the middle. It's like we kind of know what we're going to get, but we acknowledge they suck. That's why I feel it's going to be in the middle.
I like Venom 1 more than Venom 2. I'll say that right now.
On gut feeling, I'll say the same thing.